Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Good to have you here. I'm Henrik Palmgren, and as you know, the website is redicecreations.com. And we have an important program today. In our first segment, we're going to discuss Wi-Fi, wireless internet, cell phone radiation, microwaves, and electrosmog. And in our second segment, we're going to talk more about fluoride, the horror or error of water fluoridation, and much more. Our guest is Walter Graham. He is a speaker on these subjects, and he's been researching this for a long time. I'd recommend everyone to take a look at our related links on our information page for some good articles and links to other sites that have some excellent resources and more information about the topics that we'll be discussing here today. All right, so let's say hello to our guest. Hi, Walter. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Henrik.
Excellent. It's good to have you with us. As I said, this is an important program. We have lots to talk about, and I'd like to kickstart this right away so we can cover all the subjects. Let's begin on the subject of Wi-Fi, wireless internet, and actually clear something up here right away. Why don't you tell us, Walter, a little bit about the frequency of a wireless system or a Wi-Fi, and what the frequency actually of a microwave oven is?
Right. I think it's important for the listeners to understand straight away that all of this wireless technology that's come in the last 10 years or 15 years is all in the microwave field, in the microwave frequency band. And what I mean by that is that the cordless walk-around-the-house phones that people have, the baby monitor that they use to listen to the baby when it's sleeping, now the wireless connection for the laptop that's come out, they all work the same as the microwave oven. And I know if I said to your listeners microwave, the first thing they would say is microwave oven.
Right.
They wouldn't associate microwaves being with this kind of equipment, but it is. And when we look at the whole electromagnetic spectrum, it starts down at the bottom, and the frequencies are used for electricity and for electrical pylons. Then it goes to radio and television, and those frequencies are used to send us signals for our radio and television. Then next to that is microwave. And it's microwave because it has certain characteristics which are different from the radio waves that came before them. Mm-hmm. For one thing, microwaves are smaller, and they're very penetrative, which means they can come through the walls of your building. They also have a heating property. They're able to heat water, and that's what they do in a microwave oven. They actually agitate the electrons which are spinning around the atom of the hydrogen molecule, and thereby creating friction, which creates heat, which cooks the meat.
Right.
So they're all in the microwave frequency. And the Wi-Fi that we're talking about tonight or today, it's in the same frequency as the microwave oven.
And that's, what is it, 2.4 gigahertz?
That's right. It's the exact same. The microwave oven is 2.45 gigahertz. It's identical.
Oh my God! And that should really kind of open up some eyes and ears, so to speak, to what that potentially could, well, do to your system and things like this. Many people say, of course, that okay, as long as we, if we're talking about a cell phone, for instance, if you the closer you get with a cell phone to your ear or skull, the more dangerous it is. But a Wi-Fi system that beams out the same frequency all the time in your entire house as if you got one of those base stations, right?
Yes, you see, it's not the phone itself. Although what I would say is the phone looks like a phone, it sounds like a phone, but it's actually a microwave oven that speaks to you because it's at the same frequency. And also, it's the base that the phone sits on. That base is pumping out microwaves 24 hours a day. It never stops, and unless you unplug the entire unit and take it away from the wall. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're getting microwaves throughout the whole house 24 hours a day. And what this means in exposure, normally with a mobile phone, mobile phones come under certain legislation so that they have to be at a certain strength. They can't go above it. But because these, like the walk-around-the-house phones, aren't under that legislation, they can be much stronger. Mm-hmm. So typically you could get 100 times more radiation from a walk-around-the-house phone than you would from a mobile phone. because the base of it is on all the time. So the exposure level is continuous. Now with Wi-Fi, you're just adding to that electrosmog in your house. And we also had a program here, which I don't think you have gotten in Sweden. It was a BBC Panorama program in May of 2007. And on that program, they had a scientist actually take a reading in the beam of greatest intensity of a mobile phone mast, as close as he could get. And when he got that very high reading, he then went into a classroom that had one Wi-Fi laptop on, and the readings were 3 times higher in the classroom.
Wow.
So the radiation levels are quite high whenever this thing's in full belt.
Right.
Now imagine 30 children with 30 laptops, all in the same classroom, and then the classroom next to it having 30 laptops, and so on. And this, because it's so penetrative, it goes right through the walls. And it also creates what they call dangerous hotspots, which is it reflects off of metal objects. So, say, for example, the desk that the children are sitting at is probably metal tubes. And when it bounces around in the legs of those and creates hotspots, which are much stronger than the actual beam itself. So it's a fairly dangerous thing they've done.
Yeah.
And they haven't done any research to actually find out what this does do.
Well,
that's the problem. It's too new. It's only just come out. And the research is just being done on it at the moment.
Exactly. And so what we could say here right away then is that wireless internet, Wi-Fi, and cell phone radiation or cell phone, do they operate fairly, exactly on the same frequency? Those two?
No, the first cell phones that came out that were digital were at 800, 900 megahertz.
Megahertz, okay.
Then whenever the next company came in, which was Orange for us over here, they then bought the 1800 frequency, which then doubled the business for them because they could get more phone calls on each signal. So they went to 1800, and now the walk-around-the-house phones and baby monitors and things like that are now going up into the 2 gigahertz range and so on.
And
so it's getting, we're just starting to fill up our houses with this stuff. And to give you an example, we had an article which was in a publication over here called What Doctors Don't Tell You. And in the article, they were saying that the remote key button that you have on for opening up your car door has increased in strength over the last 10 years because it no longer can open the car door because of the amount of electrosmog. And guess how much it's increased in the last 10 years?
No idea.
40 times.
40 times?
It's had to get 40 times stronger in order just to open up the car door in the parking lot because of the amount of electrosmog that we're now creating and living with.
So that's all of the stuff that we put out, like Wi-Fi, like cell phone towers. You're saying that is kind of adding to the smog, so it's almost like a smog, as it's phrased.
The levels are rising. It's like the tide. The tide is rising all the time now.
Right.
And this is also happening in our environment. And we are scientists tell us that we are electrical beings, electrical equipment.
Right.
So that, for example, have you ever wondered why you can't have your cell phone turned on an airplane? And you can't have your cell phone turned on in a hospital? It's because they interfere with electrical equipment.
Right.
Such as life-saving equipment and so on. So they can't have you have it on, and they also interfere with the autopilot in an airplane. This is electrical equipment. Well, if you also are electrical equipment, well, then it's bound to interfere with you as well.
Exactly. So is it true in some way then that the higher up in the gigahertz frequency we get, the more dangerous it is to our bodies, or is it kind of a specific frequency that actually is more dangerous to us than another one?
Each frequency has its own characteristics. For example, the original, so I've been told, the original microwave oven was designed at 900 megahertz. And whenever they tried using the 900 megahertz, it would actually came through the sides of the oven and would cook the people in the room. So they then had to move up the frequency ladder to 2.45 gigahertz, because at that frequency, it would do the maximum damage to the hydrogen molecule and cook it, but it wouldn't penetrate the steel sides. So therefore, it could be contained more easily. But whenever you think that a lot of people are walking around with cell phones that are at 900 frequency, the one that could penetrate steel sides of an oven, well, you only have a quarter of an inch of skull or an eighth inch of skull. It's bound to be penetrating into your brain.
Right. But even microwave ovens leak, don't they? They leak out the microwaves?
I have testing equipment, and I haven't found one that doesn't leak. They all leak. Even brand new ones leak. Because it's very hard to contain microwaves with a door. If you have a door, the seal is usually a rubber gasket. That means nothing to microwaves. And they do apparently all leak. I haven't come across one, tested one yet that doesn't.
So what happens with the microwaves? I mean, as you said, this could create hot spots if it's metal in there, but let's say it's in a kitchen room or whatever. Do the microwaves kind of bounce around, or do they just disappear out the walls? What happens with them?
No, they bounce around. They bounce off of any metal objects in the room, even walls themselves. So they're bouncing all over the place. Mirrors. There's different things. Everything that's metal will reflect it.
Right.
So all of the kitchenware and so on, everything in the room, it will be bouncing off of.
Now, you had an interesting story about one of the banks in regards to wireless and what they did to kind of prevent what they claimed, that internet were coming in, of course, through the wireless, but then they want to prevent people from accessing their signal. Tell us that story, if you will.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I actually had read on the internet about 3M, a company who make plastics and so on, and that they had designed a plastic with a coating of lead on it, and they made it sticky so that you could put it all over your windows. And I wanted it to prevent Wi-Fi from coming into the house and into offices and so on. When I called them up, I asked them, who's buying this plastic shielding? And they said, banks and lawyers. And I said, why? Why would a bank want this shielding? They said it's actually to prevent all of their secrets from going out the window. Whenever you have Wi-Fi, apparently somebody sitting in a car outside the window can pick up all of your account numbers and every transmission when it's Wi-Fi. So they were actually having to seal the buildings off, all the windows having to be covered, and banks and so on, to prevent all of their information from flying out the window.
And this, of course, generates it becomes even worse, because if this is the case, and if they do that, that means that they're keeping the signal in there, and everything bounces around, right?
Absolutely, and what they're really doing is creating a microwave oven out of the room, because now there's nowhere for it to escape. You're making it harder for this to escape, so the levels in the room are going to escalate. And in something like a bank, I've been up at different banks, and I've got to tell you, almost everybody has a laptop, and if they were all on at the same time and they were trapping these signals, it'd be quite extraordinary. How much of this smog must be happening in the room?
Exactly. Now, you told me a story also that the schools in Northern Ireland now are all getting brand new laptop computers, and as you mentioned, this is obviously very dangerous. We have potentially many students sitting with their laptops. I mean, where did this kind of decision come from? Or do you think that they do it out of convenience? I mean, it's good to have a wireless